company called Kohinoor that makes artistic supplies. And of course professional supplies. Not everyone who uses them is an artist. They're very popular among architects as well. A person who just rearranges geometric shapes on a panel, two-dimensional panel, is called a kindergarten teacher. So you architects are not artists. Just say it. Okay, so. But Kohinoor makes this lovely little instrument called a Rapidograph Pen. And a Rapidograph pen looks like a little pen, you know, the kind that you would put an ink cartridge in, and you would write till it runs out and put another ink cartridge in. Very nice little thing, and they come in a variety of shapes and sizes. As a matter of fact, they come in an infinite variety of shapes and sizes. The points go so small that you could use them to inject, all the way to so broad that 4 or 5 dots would cover your thumbnail. And it's a nice thing for an artist, especially a graphic artist, a person that wants to create an effect so that you can have internal detail, but it doesn't distract the eye because the main shapes are heavily outlined. The lighter detail, of course, is more thin lines. And that way you can see your shapes without losing them in the detail. It's an artist's thing. So, rapidographs are lovely instruments, lovely, complex, and delicate tools designed to, and not always providing, give a steady ink flow. So you don't get the magic marker effect where you put the pen down and just goes, whoa, you know, and soaks into the paper. And you have indifferent success, and really anyone who's any good at the Rapidograph pen learns its idiosyncrasies and learns to work with them instead of against them. And that's a good thing. I'm not so good with it, but I understand it and I appreciate it. The thing about a Rapidograph pen, though, is it's very, very complex. And because of it, it's very fragile, and they very quickly break. If you drop them or bump them, if you leave the ink in them too long without cleaning it. They are professional tools, and so they require professional grade attention. You have to disassemble them. You have to clean all the parts of the clogs, even if you're using a thin ink like Parker Quink, Q-U-I-N-K, which is a water-based ink, so it's thinner. But in any case, it's a very delicate machine with several parts, of which several are moving parts, and you have to know how to take it apart and put it together countless times in your career, because that's like sharpening a pencil. When the pencil gets dull, you have to sharpen it again. When the Kohinoor gets clogged, you have to take it apart and clean it again. And then you have to refill it several times so the thinner that you use doesn't like spread out onto the page like a magic marker. And so it requires quite a bit of attention, this Rapidograph pen. If you misuse it, you will certainly ruin it. I've ruined 2 sets. And now we come to arthritis. Did you know that the hand is one of the most delicate structures in the human body? I mean, you've got your ear structures, much more delicate. But in general, the human body is designed to take impact pretty well. Your hands are not, which makes it doubly amazing that we men use our fists to hit things, especially around the head, which has the best designed armor on it. The cranium is the spot on your body that is best designed to take impact. But boxers use the most delicate external structure to bash people on their best armor. I know. You're supposed to be doing it here and here and there. I understand. Here. Your trainer tells you, go for the gut, go for the gut. You never go for the gut. You like throwing at the guy's face. That's because we watch too many movies. We learn bad lessons from movies. Movies have never ever taught a good lesson. Please stop listening to movies as your role models. Movies are made by very, very wealthy men that don't live like you, that don't understand your world at all. And when they give you a movie, they pretend that things are a certain way. Don't believe in that pretense. So, if you want to shoot a gun, don't just pull it and go like this. Go to a range and practice, because that gun is so important to you. It's going to save your life, right? That's why you bought it, is it not? Because it's going to save your life. And if you don't think saving your life is important, why did you buy a firearm? Okay, so you think that saving your life is important, or you're a complete idiot. And, or you impulse bought something that can kill people. Okay, what does that make you? So I tossing that word idiot around, it's unfair of me, I know. I'm as idiotic about other things. So I'm no special guy in this, but I will say this. If you're going to carry, you have to practice that firearm like you think it's going to save your life. That doesn't mean you carry it in your pocket or your purse or in your ankle holster or wherever, and you never attend to it. Doggone. You need to know how to take that thing apart and clean it and put it back together again. One of the things that any good infantryman learns, and not every infantryman's good, and not all of us have that time, and when we do have that time, we don't always spend it constructively. But one of the things any good infantryman knows is how to assemble and disassemble his weapon, how to maintain it, how to make sure it's not clogged like a Kohinoor pen, how to make sure it's not broken or out of true, or you didn't do something to it really stupid, like using the hammer nails into a tree. So if you're going to carry, learn all those things. That's not a joke. I'm not making fun of you. I'm absolutely serious. And that also brings us back to delicate structures with moving parts, like a pistol. If you don't understand it, please don't use it. Understand it, then you will be responsible in its use, or at least professional. And usually professionalism brings some sense of responsibility, and you can become a better citizen thereby. I'm not saying you will, but there's definitely potential for growth. So, the most delicate external structure of the human body is the hand. And my hands are worn out for many, many years of hard labor, because that's all I could do. I have very serious attention span deficit disorder. I mean, wow. I was the holotype case. I wish you could talk to the person that diagnosed me, because she called it hyperkinesis. That's how new it was then. Hyperkinesis, which is a more accurate term, meaning too much energy. Whereas they call it now they call it hyperactivity. But hyperactivity has already been used. It's a heart condition. Doggone you people in science. You really need a database that you can check your titles against so that people know what the heck you're talking about. Because you have all this beautiful technology of language, Latin, Latinized Greek, to describe things, anterior, inferior, superior, all these things that know exactly where that is if you tell me that. But then use the same term for two completely different things. One's a heart condition and one is a brain condition. So I don't have much respect for that. I don't need to. You guys aren't consistent. You don't make sense. You're all specialists now, and none of you understands the whole picture. None of you is an Oppenheimer, and even he wasn't that great a scientist. True story. So, my hands are worn for many, many years, because when I wasn't working like a dog, I was exercising constantly, because I believe in exercise. Although you wouldn't believe it to look at me now. That happens too. Because eventually I got to the point where I couldn't do chin-ups anymore, not because of my weight, because my hands couldn't do that anymore. But they'd lock up when I tried to do something like that, and then, I wouldn't be able to open them again. That led to a long story about getting my nerves tested and my body tested. The VA was very kind to me in several ways, and I appreciated very much for it. They gave me a reason to exist and an ability to exist which I would not have had otherwise. Golly, really. But in the process, my hands didn't get better. I was able to hold off on doing the heavy lifting and carrying and all the stuff I used to do. People were, well, Bill's a slob. Yes, I am. Some of that is mechanical, because I can't scrub out my tub every week or even every month. If I do it once a year, then my hands are gone for a couple days. All right, they'll come back. They often come back. They've always come back. But then there's my grandma. She was, I can remember her at about 4 years older than I am now. How about that? She was already in lumps and finished. A lot of these double recessive recombinants are carried by the matriarchal line. And then when they find a suitable male input, bang, you know. Double recombinant recessives give you all kinds of, you know, congenital birth defects and difficulties in structure, histology, function, mechanism. But my hands are in bad shape. Not terrible shape, because I still use them, but it hurts me to close my door, because it's a metal door and it swells and shrinks with the temperature, and sometimes it's very hard to close. And I don't want to slam it because I got neighbors on both sides, and I know what that feels like when somebody does it to me. So I'm like, fingers separated, tugging on the door to make it click, and don't want to click. And that hurts like hell. Oh, and then the backs of my hand burned for an hour afterwards. So all of this has slowed my progress as a pianist down to a crawl. As if God had taken a man who had no challenges and made sure he had 100% challenges, that if he didn't try harder, if he didn't push himself more than was healthy, he would not be able to pursue his dream. Isn't that how it is with all of us? And even though I had money coming in from a friendly government, I had a dream. Pursuing that dream has slowed down to a crawl. And so, I post my daily practice sessions because they're very ginger. I'm not like playing with authority. I can't. And if I did, I'd know it, and it would take days to come back from it. And I did some foolish things 4 or 5 months ago that I didn't think would be too much for me, and they were. And so my hands went into overdrive, pain, and numbness, and, you know, and being locked modes, and stayed there for months. Playing the piano is a real chore at all, and I love it so. So, it is as though, but of course I have no proof for this, I'm not trying to push this on anybody, but it is as though there was an intelligent creature that said, I'm going to create a negative feedback mechanism that if he pushes hard, it will push hard back. And if he doesn't push at all, it'll be fine. And so I pushed, and I pushed, and I pushed, and all my jobs burned me out physically. And then I would come home and try to practice piano. And then there was exercise, because my job only exercises my back and my shoulders, my hands, and my hips. It doesn't exercise my abs. It doesn't exercise muscles that use other motions, which I'm going to need in life. I'll need flexibility. I'll need tight muscles everywhere. So I am effectively crippled. I look fine. I walk miles. I try to stay in shape as best I can. Imagine a person practicing karate who can't make a fist. I move like this now, and I can't make a fist. I can't even tighten anything from the forearm down. I work here now. There. I work here. In the old days, I had the Shorter who has a fist where you tuck the index finger, and it hurts like hell. You have to distort your hand to do it. And of course, repetitive stress disorder will create in you that unequal wear that will make you naturally be able to do it, but you will have lost other capability. This is why the stories that we see in the movies that we don't get about the famous kung fu masters, and we see that not only can they fight like hell, right, but they're mean, irritable, don't want to take students, and they don't pride themselves in their fighting art. Watch the movies. They pride themselves in their ability to do calligraphy, which requires fine motor control instead of coarse motor control. This is a reflection on the knightly values of the medieval knight, who was supposed to not only be able to bash somebody's head in with his mace, or club him with a shield, but was also needed to play a courtly instrument and entertain his lady fair, and write poetry, and read. Not many people could read. So he had to like move beyond his purely military heritage, what we would today call broadening. So the idea of going to college was anyone could go to a trade school which would teach you exactly what you were looking for. But if you wanted to have other avenues of exploration and interest, so that when you're home done from your job, you had something to do that made you feel entertained or rewarded, well, that requires a broadening of your purview, your education. Television doesn't provide that. Television provides meaningless flash, excitement. And I know that that's enough for most of us, because we're so exhausted from the day. Television, please raise me up and down, and I'm going back. What does that make a job then? Owners think that jobs are a privilege. No. If a job was a privilege, owner, you'd be doing one of our jobs and force one of us to do the bookkeeping. No. You know better. That's why you don't. So don't bullshit us anymore. Anyway, I'm not going on about ownership today. There are enlightened owners. I've even known a few. I'm not saying there aren't, but my talk today is about how hard I had to work just to support myself, and how when set free by the VA, if you need to work, because I was going to starve to death otherwise, they were very nice to me, but I was able to recover enough to pursue my love, my dream again. I didn't work. I couldn't work 4 hours playing piano, but I could practice a little bit. Every day, every other day. Or if my hands hurt especially, maybe once a week. And that's why these moments are so important to me. That's why I'm posting them all the time. This is my voice in the artistic wilderness. I only have so much time. My hands will be burned out. I'll look like my grandma. Love you, Elizabeth. I'm holding my glass like this so I can drink water without dropping it, and the candy stripers will get mad again. So I'm going to start stealing from my medicine cabinet again, because that's what they do. Not the candy stripers, but people that work in the senior homes go there with the hope of stealing from somebody's medicine cabinet. Don't you? I'm sorry. Many of you don't. But there certainly is a strong undercurrent, isn't there? People who work in senior care centers. Yeah, I think so. Don't they test you for that, or berate you about it or something? Or do they ignore it? Because I've been in places that were either. One where they enforced strictly, and one where they never turned around unless some senior died from some stupid thing, like they took an ibuprofen that you replaced their whatever, morphicodone or whatever it was, hydrocodone. But anyway, so these moments, these are the moments of my life. This is what I have as opportunity out of my entire life to do something with myself that is better than I am. That is more of a man than I'll ever be. That is able to contact others and touch hearts, minds, and souls. So now every second I can do this. I'm wanting to. I wake up in the morning. I wait until noon because I'm not going to wake my neighbors if I can help it. I have the piano turned way down. I have the microphone way close to it. But I play a little piano. And sometimes I go like, bang! I hit it too hard because I'm trigger finger. And sometimes I can't play. The backs of my hands hurt so bad it feels like they're literally burning. The numbness isn't as bad unless it's the whole finger. Usually the numbness is just like the side, or this finger and this finger, and then it'll go away. The hard part is when you get the nails driven through your palms feeling. If you guys, any of you are experiencing any of this, you'll know just what I'm talking about. This is a combination of arthritis, repetitive stress disorder, and carpal tunnel syndrome. It's all of it together. And this is why the human race didn't used to live so long, because we would burn ourselves out too quick. True story. 30-year-old had no teeth left because there was so much grit in the food that he just wore them out. And I'm worn myself out. And I was naturally inclined to excessive wear in the first place, by virtue of my genetics. Those same genetics handed me this. So now it's a trade-off. Can I use these to do this as long as possible, so that my, as I pointed out, voice in the artistic wilderness can be heard by somebody. You know, it's possible that someone will hear one of my songs and say, somebody knows how I felt. I remember a moment like that for me, and it was as if someone had thrown me a rope and I was at the bottom of a well. Oh my gosh, I'm not alone. Long, rambling diatribe. But I hope I said something today. That's the reason why I keep posting music every day and fresh blogs every day to my Facebook and to my YouTube. Because this is the chance I get, no matter how bad it is for my hands or my voice or whatever else has happened to me. Just like you guys have your own vicissitudes. I'm not claiming mine are worse. We all go through something. But it is as if I am in a machine that gives me structured resistance. And the harder I push, the harder it pushes back. And I'm at the point now where if I pushed a little harder, I could be really good at music. And I'm crying because I can't do it because I'll stop being able to use my hands. Thank you, God. Thank you for giving me challenges. The golden bullet boy that was saved from living under the bridge for 3 weeks till he died in the winter. Here he is, trying to say thank you, God, the only way he can, by creating art, by using his mind to try to solve problems or bring things to people's attention. And here I am. I'm like right on the edge of being really good at something, and I can't push that hard because if I do, my hands will lock up and I won't be able to use them anymore. Because I have degenerative arthritis, surgery is possible. But what am I going to do then, stomp? No, and that's what you have to do, especially when you're arthritic. So I could have my hands not repaired, but relieved, but then I couldn't play piano anymore. Which is it, folks? Which one would you want? Wild Bill.